Speaking of good movies that I know you haven't seen yet, Kyle,
Parasite.
you may have seen it. Parasite. Yeah, I watched it last night. I bought it on Amazon. And like something I like about these subtitle movies is that it totally prevents you from like if I'm watching a normal movie, I'll like hop on and read like something about hockey or like some sports articles or like look at scores. Like you can't do that. If you like look down for 2 seconds, you're like, oh no, oh wow. It's like, oh fuck, well I'm fucking gone. I need to rewind. And so I watched the whole fucking thing. And first of all, I thought it was going to be like a spooky, scary movie, scarier than it was. All not even based on the description. If I would have read the description and like internalized it, I would have realized I was being stupid by assuming that. But just based on the name, Parasite sounds like a spooky film.
Yeah, it sounds like zombies or something.
It was a thriller, but man, that was a really good movie. I would still rank it in my like tier of movies of the year. I'd put Joker above it. Joker's still my favorite of the year, but Parasite was fucking great. I really enjoyed it.
I've not seen Joker, but I really liked Parasite. It's funny because I liked Parasite, and I don't know. I don't know if I want to talk. It's like you don't want to talk about this movie too much because it'll spoil it. And
we can. What we can do here. If anybody's listening right now or watching, and you haven't seen Parasite yet, jump a few minutes ahead. The timeline will be in the description. So if you continue listening from this point on, it's going to get spoiled a little bit.
Oh, we're losing Kyle? Oh no, we're losing Kyle.
He's got to go shmiokaboom, apparently, because he doesn't pee in the show.
Woody, have you seen Parasite yet?
No. Do you have to read the whole thing? It's captions.
It's all captioned. So the first half of the movie, like I caught on really quick to the first half of the movie, and I was like, oh, this is great. I really like this, and I really liked the feeling of it just being sort of a comedy and sort of funny. Like it's sad, but also it's a tragic comedy. And then at the last, 20 minutes of the film, 30 minutes of the film, it just takes a huge turn. And it's completely out of the blue. And I love that. I thought it was really great, but I don't know that I want to watch it again. I don't know that I want to go back.
It's probably a one-off movie for me.
Yeah, it's great,
especially because of this. Like I paid so much attention the first time because of the subtitles. But that movie gets real in the last like 20, 25 minutes. It gets real good. But it's good the whole time. Through it too, like the little story arcs and structures. And I don't know what it is other than like maybe it's just different kind of pacing and acting than you see in Western films, but it was a refreshing difference to what we see in movies. It just felt different.
It does. And that's actually, I would probably credit that to the director, Bong Joon-ho. Have you ever seen a movie called The Host?
That sounds really familiar.
The Host, he did this years ago. It's a monster movie, but it's a really interesting monster movie. And there's that very same tone in The Host that there is in Parasite, that you don't understand why it feels the way it does, but it feels good, and it feels different, but it's unique but familiar. And in my opinion, that's basically the best sort of media you can watch, which is something that feels new, but you can still identify with it. And that's what that director's best at. So
unique but familiar. That's a good way to put it. We didn't really spoil anything, which is good. But Woody, you should check it out. I know. Were you on the fence because of the subtitles, being like, I don't want to sit there and have to read a 2-hour and 20-minute movie?
A little bit. I know. I feel like it makes me sound dumb, but it's just like a higher level of commitment than another movie.
It is.
Yeah. I was saying while you were gone, it made me enjoy it more. Because instead of watching a movie the way I do now, like I was totally invested.
One eye on Reddit and one eye on the movie.
Yeah. If I'm watching some other movie on Netflix and I have to like get up and go pee, like I'll probably just turn the volume up a little bit and go pee and just hear it. But like I had to pause every time, or if I had to let the fucking dogs out, which I'm gonna have to do that again soon so they don't shit in my house. They've been on such a good streak, but my girlfriend is asleep and she is not watching them. And I hear him doing that dog like thing with the, and they like do that like fake biting each other and they make that goofy noise.
Yeah. They're fighting. That sounds like they're having a good time.
They are, but like they're probably having a good time shitting too. Nothing's wafted in yet. But yeah, I thought that was a really, really good movie. I enjoyed Parasite a lot. I'd recommend that to people. Huh. Have you kicked off more of Outsider, Woody?
I think I'm on episode. I have to watch 5. I've seen 4. That's where I am.
Yeah, Outsider's really good too. If you haven't seen that on HBO.
I haven't. No, I haven't, not at all.
HBO.
And I've heard great things about it. But what's it about? What's in a couple of paragraphs?
Basically, it's a murder mystery of sorts where they're trying to solve something, but none of the information and clues that they're getting are lining up with what they would expect from a traditional murder trial. And it's like the physical evidence is being counteracted by similarly strong physical evidence until they have to start to consider, like, hey, is there maybe something not so natural about what's going on here?
In the first episode, I don't think it's too much of a spoiler talk about episode 1. There's 10. There's a guy. He's a great guy. He's a Little League baseball coach, and he's accused of murdering this kid. And they have him dead to rights. His DNA is on it. His 2 witnesses, cameras, everything. This guy did it. And then they also have video evidence that he wasn't there. He was 70 miles away. Hundreds of people saw him. And it explained that. So,
Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay. All right. I'm in. Because I mean, HBO almost never makes bad stuff. So
almost. I discovered the show the other day. I've been on a real Stephen King kick since I got out of prison. I read a bunch of Stephen King in there. I guess I've always liked it, but some of the old movies are kind of cheesy. I have a hard time getting into Carrie.
Like Pet Sematary.
I have a hard time. Pet Sematary is super cheesy. If you go back and watch it, man, it's pretty rough. I wish I could do that main accent that old guy does in the first one. But recently, all the stuff I've watched has been really, really good, and this is no exception. This is one of my favorite shows on television right now, for sure. It's great. The acting is very good. I recognize a couple of the supporting actors, and obviously Jason Bateman, but it's one of those shows where it's making me fans of actors and actresses that I didn't know before. The black detective lady, I want to watch her in something else now. I want to see
she's real good.
Yeah, she's very cool. I love when they sort of hire her to look into what the fuck's going on here, and she goes and she does a lot of detective work. And she's autistic. She's on the spectrum somewhere, but she leans more toward the not great in social situations, but photographic memory doesn't do it justice. Like she's one of those people that could tell you like December 17th, 1942. Oh yeah, that was a Monday.
She does building heights.
She can look at a building and tell you within 2 or 3 feet how tall it is.
Got it.
If I had the option to pay $5 for that ability, I wouldn't take it. Who fucking cares? It's like
$5 I'm in. I'll take it.
Okay. $5, right? But if it was anything double digits money, I'm like, nah, I'm gonna get a burrito, bitch. I'm paying.
I've got Google.
Yeah, but when she gives her, she does her investigation, then she gives this report to all the concerned parties, and there's this part where she's kind of giving these bullet points. She's like, he was here, but he was here. A person can't be in 2 places at the same time. This happened and this happened. A human being can't exist in 2 places at the same time. And it's really good. It's great acting all the way around. There's not a bad actor in the show. There's not a part where you're like, oh, it's this guy's scene. I hate this guy. This guy's the worst. It's always good stuff. I highly recommend it. I tell everybody I know.
It's 1 season. Is that, I would imagine, right now?
I think it's going to be 1 and done. I could be wrong about that,
really?
but I think it's a mini series. I hope it is. I think shows are better that way when they're just they have this beginning and an end, and they're not just milking it.
Yeah, I would agree.
It's
like Chernobyl. You see Chernobyl?
I love Chernobyl.
My gosh,
it was
unbelievable. It was wild, so good.
Yeah. But on the other end of the spectrum, I didn't care for Watchmen one bit. I really despise Watchmen. I'm a big fan of Watchmen. I don't read comics, but I find YouTube videos that they just flip the page of the comic, and they don't flip the page, but they show like the animation of the pages. So it's not like a literal book they're flipping. It's more like they show the web comic. That's what they do, and then a narrator reads it and he does voices. And so I'm into the comics. I love the movie, even the crazy extended version, like 8-inch soft dong and all. But man, I just hated the miniseries.
Really?
And it is a miniseries, by the way. They canceled that bitch.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, actually, they didn't cancel it. They said Lindelof didn't want to do anymore, and so they're like, okay, no problem.
I think they were saving face all around. I think they told her, hey, we should probably wrap this up. Why don't you say you're not interested in working with us anymore? I think that's what happened because the ratings were poor. And there were some critics who liked it, and there were some critics who hated it. And I was definitely on the side of really disliking a lot of the stuff they did. Like I love the Ozzy. I'm going to mispronounce his name.
Ozymandias. Yeah. Yeah.
Such a cool character, smartest man in the world, and he's sort of reduced to this silliness.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't like Captain Manhattan. Dr. Manhattan, it was fine when he became a black man. I thought that was cool that he became someone to sort of have this like real world love affair.
Yeah, a normal life. Yeah.
Yeah. But then when he turned back and he was still black, he was still the black man, but blue. It just didn't make sense to me, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I have no problem with if he were a black character, I'd be fine with that. I don't like it when characters change races. I guess sometimes and especially if there's an external source like forcing that to happen, which is like I know that in Avengers Endgame, there's that character, they go back in time to get all the Infinity Stones, and there's that one bald lady, right, who has the green stone that eventually ends up with Doctor Strange.
Yeah, she's
the ancient one.
Yeah.
The ancient one is supposed to be a Buddhist priest.
That's right. Yeah.
China does not like Buddhist priests, so they said, "Hey, that's not going to work for us. You want to put your movie in China? Why don't you rewrite that character?"
Yeah.
And so they did. They made it a Celtic female priest, and I don't like that shit.
Yeah, changing the source material.
Yeah. On the TV. And that's an example of like them changing a character from Asian to white, and I don't like that. It has nothing to do with me being like a white guy and wanting like all the characters to be white or something. It's like, hey, it was written as this guy, and now it's that guy. Like why do we need an alternate version? I got no problem with She-Hulk, which is about to happen. Because there's a comic about the She-Hulk. It's fucking cool.
Yeah.
But if you made the She-Hulk Asian, I'm gonna be like, well, wait a minute.
She might be.
Yeah.
They're open to casting of all races on the She-Hulk.
Of course they are.
Do you know who Christopher Hivju is?
That sounds like a racial slur.
HIVJU.
No.
His name is HIV Jew.
But no, it's not EW, it's JU. But yes, so you know him. He's got red hair, big bushy beard, and he loved Brienne of Tarth.
He is going to be in the next
Witcher.
Season of The Witcher.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty excited about that. I don't know the Witcher lore. I just like the TV show.
Oh, the show is great. Yeah, the show's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and he's gonna play Nivellen, Nivellen. I don't know the Witcher, but I guess it's a major role, and he's in it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm glad this thing is getting momentum. It's something cool.
Well, he's a great actor in Game of Thrones. I thought he was always really charismatic and fun to watch. But also that Witcher show. So it sounds like you guys liked it too.
Yeah.
I liked the show, but I felt like it looked a little cheap, especially for the budget that it had. We discussed that a week or two ago. It's $10 million an episode, which is right on par with Game of Thrones, and I don't think it looks like. Think about how good the dragons look in Game of Thrones,
right?
And then think about what that monster that he's fighting in the swamp at the very first scene of The Witcher, and it's like,
I feel like we barely saw it.
It's like you fought like a $50,000 monster, and Daenerys has been riding around all season on a $2 million monster.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You got a Honda over on Netflix and a fucking Ferrari over there on HBO, and I don't get it. How much were they paying Henry Cavill? I guess is the real question.
I mean, probably a pretty good amount. I mean, he earned, in my
$10 million an episode. I guess
he earned every cent because he's fantastic in the show.
He's excellent. He's very good at it.
More plates, more dates. Talked about Henry Cavill, and because people were saying he was on steroids because he's so jacked, and he was like, "Huh, doesn't even." Like, I guess he looks like he works out, but he's just fat. And I'm like, well, your standards are so high. So what? When a Henry Cavill from The Witcher barely looks like he hits the gym to this dude, he's looking through a warp lens.
Well, I mean, like, also Henry Cavill, he bulks. Like, that's what he likes to do. He bulks a lot. So I mean, he can be fat in the sense that he can get larger, but he still looks fucking huge.
Yeah, not so fat that he doesn't have a six pack, right? Like, This guy needs to be taught about what fat means. I needed to do an episode on me. This guy.
I feel like he gives people a fair shake. Like what I always see him say is like, this guy is a 0.1% for if you're just walking the streets of the world. Now among competitive bodybuilders, no, this isn't going to cut it. So, and he sort of frames it in those two sort of worlds. Like he'll often say that like, oh yeah, for an average, for just a human man walking the street, living in this world, wow,
yeah,
top of the heap. But for those of us who are competitive at doing only one thing, and that one thing is lifting weights and getting jacked as fuck, nah, he's not even super duper duper, and much less uber super duper duper duper.
Well, I mean, Henry Cavill's not a competitive bodybuilder.
Exactly. but that's what I'm getting at. Like, I feel like he's pretty fair to them. Because what's being questioned is like, is this guy natural or not? And what he'll be like, look, yeah, I'm sure he got a good pump before this, and this is the one scene that people point to. Look, he's flexing, he's doing this and that. Look, I mean, come on. You see this and you go to the gym, you're probably going to see a guy like this.
Okay. All right. I mean, for me, it's Henry Cavill's like he's like the ideal man right now for generally just men, because he's into pop culture. He's a successful actor. He's really charismatic, and he's fucking jacked. And there aren't many other guys like that exist right now in show business.
Sure. And I think he's British, right?
He's British, yes. He's definitely British.
5 stars.
I might be looking at it through my own like distorted lens, because I want to hear that they're on steroids. Chris Evans is Captain America, right?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he looks at Chris Evans and says, he's not jacked. He's just fat. He's not on steroids for sure. And I'm like, what? I would rather hear that wasn't attainable, and that this magnificent specimen you're looking at is what peak performance actually looks like, right? Like that's what I want him to want to be told. So when he says Chris Evans is nothing special, a little bit fat maybe, and not on steroids, I'm like, the bar is high.
Well, I know what you're saying, because then it makes it feel like you can get there, but the truth is you can't, because they spend 6 to 8 hours a day for 3 months training, and then also they have all their meals prepared for them. And like, Woody, if you can afford all of that, then sure, you can get to what they're looking at. But I don't know if you could. That's their job, right? They're getting paid to do that, and none of us are getting paid to do that. So,
yeah. I mean, somebody makes my meals, and I do have spare time. I'm just not that energetic.
You kind of just said the wrong thing. I'm being honest. This is a man who could achieve all of those things you just mentioned. Like, hey, none of us have 5-6 hours a day of free time and someone to prepare their meals for them.
Wait, does Woody? So Woody has that? He has all those things?
Yes.
only one person on this call other than you doesn't. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, then what? You got to get jacked, man.
The man works 5 hours a week.
Yeah, you got to get jacked.
Call it 7. Call it 7.
Got to get big.
I can see Woody being like, thinking like, hey, I edit and upload. All right, call it 8. Call it 10, motherfucker. But yeah, it's lots of free time.
Kyle, some of my weeks approach double digits.
Hey, but my hobbies take up a lot of my time.
What do you just Google? Here's what you do: you Google the Witcher workout, right? And then you go and start doing the Witcher workout. You do it 4 hours a day, because it sounds like you've got a few hours of the day. And in 3 months' time, it sounds like your wife is also making your food for you, right? Is that right? So 3 months' time, you're going to have that Henry Cavill body, and then More Plates, More Dates is going to call you fat.
I dare to dream. That would be great.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
I'd love for More Plates, More Dates to call me fat.